Hello everyone. I'm sure you all know the obvious reasons and benefits of studying art. Things like, the ability to actually make something beautiful, aesthetic, becoming more observant and creative. Also to, sometimes relax and reduce stress, etc., etc. But that's not actually what I want to talk to you about today. I want to share with you some of the benefits you might not actually realize learning art can bring. I have started taking private art lessons since I was 5 years old, and I on and off continued private art lessons throughout elementary school and high school. In university, I also pursued a fine arts minor degree. I did not, however, continuously practice art later on in life. I became a programmer, and currently my career is still very much rooted in software engineering. So how does learning art help me growing up as well as developing skills for work? I experienced quite a bit of moving around and adapting to new environments growing up. I went to 2 different kindergarten schools, where the second one was actually a boarding school, and my mom would pick me up only during weekends. I also went to 2 different elementary schools. One of them was in Beijing, where I was born, and the other one in Vancouver. After grade 7, I moved from Vancouver to Toronto, and then for university, I moved to Waterloo. With each move, I was forced to meet new people, and I had to adapt to a new social circle. While I might identify as borderline extrovert, but I wasn't that great at making friends while being singled out as the new kid on the block, and especially wasn't that great when I had to learn English at the same time. Without going into too much detail, I've had my fair share of culture misfits and super awkward moments as a kid. But I can still vividly recall some of the bonding moments I had with others, and they were found through drawing and making art. Sure, I was also really great at math, so much so that I remember my elementary teacher just gave me a grade 9 textbook and told me to study on my own. But none of the kids, none of them, were impressed by my math skills. Nobody cared that I knew factoring and solving polynomials before they did. What they cared about was that I can draw, that I can make the best paper mache art. They would look at my drawings and my artwork and just, they would be in awe, and they would reach out to me and wanting to learn from me. I remember even after I moved to Toronto, one of my teachers found my number and called long distance to ask me if I still kept my artwork so she can use it in her class. So moments like that really helped boost my confidence as a kid, turning me from that, just socially awkward little kid who doesn't know how to make friends at all into who I am today. In a way, art transcends language. As I moved around from country to country, city to city, learning new language and social skills as a kid, art became a crucial way for me to connect with people around me. The reason I was able to do that is because everyone can learn to appreciate art. Continuously learning art has also exposed me to various cultures and histories and helped me learn to appreciate everyone's beauty and individuality. Spending a majority of my teenage life in Toronto also helped. I really gained a deep appreciation of how we celebrate everyone coming from different backgrounds and can speak different languages. But we can still appreciate art very much the same way. In my high school, we only had about 500 students, but there were more than 27 languages spoken. Finding a common ground which we can all learn to appreciate is so important for making connections. Can you imagine everywhere in the world, centuries ago, Since the inception of our kind, we have been making art. I would say that's the first language that we all have learned to speak, and that language is still in use today. I would say besides culture and history, something else art has taught me to appreciate is to recognize and admire beauty from afar. It's the feeling that I don't need to own things I consider beautiful to enjoy them. When we study art, the discovery and the sensory impact, as well as the message from the artist, is often the focus of our study, and never about owning the artwork. There are so many artists I love who inspire me to create. I would say to this day, I still enjoy looking and appreciating art from all sources, in person and online. I learned to enjoy and just appreciate beauty from afar without needing to touch them or make contact with them or take ownership in them. Growing up in North America, the media and our surrounding often tell us that we must have it all, that owning things expensive and luxurious and beautiful means happiness and success. But that's simply not true. I love flowers, but I hate the fact that they will eventually wither and die. So I rarely get them, but I still enjoy looking at them and draw them from time to time. I also love strolling through a beautiful garden, but that doesn't mean I need to have my own. Imagine how much labor and care, and not to mention money, that's required. Despite quite a few of my friends and colleagues enjoy collecting luxury goods, I actually don't own anything that I wouldn't use regularly. Not because I don't find them beautiful, but because I don't find them practical. In fact, I think there are many collaborations between luxury brands and artists that I enjoy looking at, but I don't need to buy them to appreciate them. If I truly love something so much, instead of trying to own them, I will try to capture their beauty with my drawing tools and create something new, create something more meaningful to myself. That's the way I like to pay tribute. It isn't with money, it's through spending time to actually observing them. I think the ability to appreciate beauty from afar is so valuable. I'm so super grateful that learning and practicing art since I was a little girl was able to teach me this valuable lesson and provide me with this sentiment. Fast forward to being an adult. In university, I majored in computer science and decided to minor in fine art midway through. Why? Well, because I need to continue to study art. I literally felt lost. Not because I don't enjoy studying computer science, but because I really missed studying art. After I graduated, I tried to pursue jobs that can utilize both sides of my brain, where I can be both technical and creative. You may not think studying art can help with someone in the software building industry, but upon reflection, there were so many things that I learned through art that has helped me succeed. The first one, I would say it's my superpower to break down unknowns. I'm pretty good at understanding a vague concept that I receive from clients and turning them into concrete building blocks. In technical documentation, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm able to turn those vague and often abstract requirements into technical blueprints for my team. Without going into detail around what those documents are, you can imagine them to be similar to making concept art for cars or buildings, except the ones I make are for software products. Essentially, studying art has taught me how to communicate through art, how to translate things from what I hear people say into something on paper that isn't just words, but diagrams and designs. Number 2 is not being afraid to experiment and fail when it comes to challenges and problems. In both art and software engineering, I need to push myself to innovate and try something new. The drive to improve and not being afraid of taking risks and consequences of being wrong is actually critical to success. I would fail again, fail often. Have you heard someone say, "I'm debugging something"? That's when a programmer got a bug in their code and they need to solve it. When we build software, it could take us 20% of the time to build 80% of the product, but 80% of the time to solve the remaining 20%. It's because the remaining 20% are the parts where we're not too sure on. It's where we often get stuck, when we need to experiment and experiment again to get a desired outcome. Doesn't that sound really similar to when we're making art? When we're making a new piece of artwork, it often doesn't take us that long to get it mostly right, but we dwell on the completion part. It's often through iterations and experimentation that we become better and better at what we do. Whether in building software or making art, that process is so incredibly similar. Number 3 is the ability to be creative when it comes to solutioning. It's something that learning art has taught me. Well, you see, building software for real users and solving real life problems isn't at all like when I'm programming in school. There are so much constraints that we need to follow. Constraints like, I don't have enough time, don't have enough programmers, I don't have access to this or that product or service, I must use this technology or that, etc., etc. I find this problem-solving process to be really similar to when I'm making art. When making art, there are a lot of constraints I need to work within as well. Things like the right lighting condition, only certain periods during the day where I get enough daylight in my room. There are other constraints like, well, the texture of the surface, the texture of the paint, the shade and colors available. I need to take all of these things into consideration to come up with a cohesive end result. My brain is really trained to power through challenges and figure out workarounds despite the constraints I might face. Also, mistakes happen all the time. Mistakes happen during creation process, whether I'm making art or writing software. And similarly, I have learned to adapt quickly on the fly. When I'm faced with these challenges, I either face them head on or I find alternative routes to get the most optimal results that I can possibly achieve with everything considered. Thank you for watching. In sharing some of these learnings and benefits, I really hope some of them resonated with you, and perhaps some of you will pick up some art supplies and start drawing with me. Let me know in comments what prompted you to start learning about art or learning how to draw, and what helped you stay motivated and continue. I'm super curious to hear and learn from others out there.